Welcome back to my channel. If you are interested in growing your property portfolio and building a property portfolio that can create wealth and financial freedom for you, you are at the right place. Today we are discussing a very important topic, and that is property transfers. With me I've got Mariette from KVV Incorporated, and she is going to guide us through the process of how a property transfers from the seller to the buyer. Welcome, Mariette.
Thank you so much for having me, Jaco. It's nice to be here and to help demystify the conveyancing process.
Great. What is a property transfer, Mariette?
So a property transfer is the process of transferring immovable property from the name of the seller to the name of the purchaser in the deeds office. Whether the seller is a natural person or an entity, that is done in South Africa through the office of a conveyancer. A conveyancer will help with the legal intricacies of the transfer to make sure that all the legalities are dealt with, and also to protect both the purchaser and the seller.
Now that we understand what a property transfer is, can you talk us through the process of transferring a property?
Sure. There are basically 5 steps. The first step is the signing of the offer to purchase. So the buyer will sign an offer to purchase that will be presented to the seller. The seller will accept the offer to purchase, and that then becomes a legal and binding sale agreement. From there, the seller will then appoint a conveyancer that will attend to the transfer process. And although the seller appoints the conveyancer, the purchaser pays the transfer cost of the transfer process. From there, the conveyancer needs to attend to the transfer process. This includes obtaining rates clearing certificates, levy clearing certificates, the transfer duty receipt, the electrical compliance certificates, the securing of the purchase price, and once all that is done, the 4th step is to lodge the matter in the deeds office for examination, and once the deeds office is happy with the documents, the 5th and final step is registration of the property to the name of the purchaser.
Is it possible for the purchaser to choose the conveyancer?
It is possible, although it is the prerogative of the seller to appoint a conveyancing attorney. The purchaser can request and actually make it a condition of the offer that their own conveyancer attends to the process of the transfer.
Right. One of the things that we actually teach our property investors at our events is to, as a property investor, make it a condition in the offer to purchase that you choose the conveyancer, because in that way you can get better services from your own conveyancer, and of course you can get better pricing as well. Now, Mariette, what would you say are some of the common delays or bottlenecks in the process of transferring a property?
So, of course, there are many delays, unforeseen delays that can cause a bottleneck in the transfer. One of the biggest ones we see is problems with the municipality. So problems with the rates clearance certificate and the rates clearance figures, and that often happens when there's a problem with the municipal meters, either the water meter or the electricity meter that is faulty and needs to be replaced. Of course, also if the seller owes a lot of money to the municipality, that needs to be settled. The second is obviously the securing of the finance. So that can either be with the actual securing and obtaining of the bond. That often happens when the purchaser is either a legal entity or self-employed. And then once the bond has been secured and the finance is in place, then also the conditions that's imposed by the bank on the bond, that can also cause a delay in the transfer process. Then the obtaining of the documentation from all the parties. All the parties, of course, need to be able to present all the documentation that is required timelessly. And then lastly, one of the examples of a delay will be if the seller is owing a lot of money to his existing bondholder. So if there's a shortfall, there's not enough proceeds to settle the outstanding bond, or if the seller has already been handed over to the legal department of the bank, that can also cause a delay in the process.
Great. And how long does a transfer take usually?
Well, Jaco, how long is a piece of string? But usually it takes about 6 to 12 weeks. Depending, of course, on these delays that we've just discussed, that can cause a delay and can cause a transaction to take longer than anticipated. But if all parties work together, then the matter can be registered quick.
Wonderful. Now, one thing that we are very intentional about as property investors acquiring multiple properties is to buy our property in the right entity. Now, we always advise our clients to purchase their properties in a company and to have the shares held in a holdings trust. Yes, it does make the process a little bit more tedious because there's more documentation that's in the picture, but it's very, very important that you do not acquire property in your own name when you are acquiring property. Now, Mariette, let's talk money. Most people aren't aware of the transfer costs that can add up. Can you break down the costs for us?
Of course, Jaco. Very important. As we said earlier, the transfer costs are paid by the purchaser, and one of the biggest elements is transfer duty. Transfer duty is a tax that's payable to SARS, and that's levied on the purchase price of the property. Currently exempted up to 1.1 million, but annually with the national budget, it is revisited by the Minister of Finance. From there, it works on a sliding scale. The higher the purchase price, the higher the transfer duty amount. Then, of course, the conveyancing fee that's payable to the conveyancer. What's important to remember there is that there will be two statements of account, one for the transfer attorney that attends to the transfer, and one for the bond registration attorney that attends to the bond registration. And included in those two accounts will also be the deeds office fee that's payable to the deeds office itself.
Many property buyers forget that there are actually two invoices that you need to pay when you are acquiring a property. You've got on the one side the transfer fees, like you said, but you've also got the bond registration costs on the other side.
That is very true. We oftentimes see that purchasers are not even aware of the costs and that they have budgeted for the purchase price but not for the cost element, or if they have budgeted for the cost element, that they only budgeted for one of the two and not for both statements of account, and that can delay the registration process, and even it can cause the process not to be able to be completed if the purchaser has not budgeted for the costs.
Before we go, Mariette, what would the final tips be that you can give property buyers and property sellers to ensure a smooth transfer process?
Well, I would think firstly is make sure that all your documentation are in order. You're going to be asked for a lot of documents. You're going to be asked for FICA documents from all the parties concerned. You are going to be asked for your payslips and your financial statements by the bond originators. So it's important to make sure that all those documentations are in place and readily available. Secondly, it's important to work with reputable professionals in the transaction. So firstly, your estate agent or your property practitioner. Important that you choose the right property practitioner that is registered with the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority and holds a Fidelity Fund certificate. Then important to choose a bond originator or mortgage originator that can guide you through the process of applying for a bond and can fight for you for the right bond amount and the right interest rate. And then, of course, lastly, a trusted conveyancer, someone that can hold your hand through the process and make sure that they guide you through this process and protect your interest. Lastly, I would say be proactive, but also be patient. Make sure that you have everything readily available, but also know that this process is going to take some time, but your property practitioner, your mortgage originator, your conveyancer will guide you through this process.
Thank you for joining us today, Mariette.
You are most welcome, Jaco. It's always a pleasure.
So, if you want Prosperity Enterprises to help you and guide you through the process of setting up the right structuring and also the right strategy for your property investment portfolio, click on the link in the comments section where you can book a one-on-one consultation with us. Also, if you like this content, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.